Okay, this has got to be the last video that I'm doing today. Well, it's moved on into the next day now, but what can I say? This is serious, and now picking it up here, it's been posted by Tom Pride in Pettiness on WordPress. And thank you, Tom Pride, for sharing this and alerting us to what is going on. And many of us have, right from the start, been very suspicious of this Tory-led referendum, this sudden choice they gave us to leave the EU after they'd spent years trying to persuade the EU to abandon things like human rights and workers' rights and environmental protection laws. Okay, and then suddenly them all running scared because the EU's going to start investigating offshore tax havens and tax evasion. Oh, suddenly Britain gets the choice to leave the EU. But I knew it was never going to be on our terms. It was never going to be about sovereignty. All the things that they said were a pack of lies. Most people are aware of that by now. The people that were persuaded to join Brexit, to vote Brexit, okay, to vote leave. So here we have, well, there are actually two stories in this blog. One of them is about the EU people who were voting leave, ardent leave campaigners, the most ardent leave campaigners. Okay, here we go. Another leading hard Brexiteer buys EU citizenship for himself and his family. You know, they've been at it all over the place. Okay. He's bought himself citizenship in Malta because, you know, they don't want to be around when it hits. They know. I tell you, the people that orchestrated this Brexit, they hate the British people, okay? Zionists are behind it. There's been nobody. You know, Britain's always been a country. The people of Britain have very strongly spoken out against what's going on in Palestine with the Palestinian people. The Zionists hate us. They want to destroy us. They want to drive us into abject poverty. That is their plan, okay? They want to turn Britain into a corporate communist state, okay? So now we've got May's Brexit disaster unreported by UK press. Britain blocked from 1.7 trillion in World Trade Organisation projects. Okay? Theresa May's kowtowing to hard Brexiteers in her party may have just cost the UK 1.7 trillion of access to international projects after Brexit. So what is this all about? Well, you know, the US, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, Ukraine, Israel and Moldova have all blocked Britain's post-Brexit entry into the World Trade Organisation's government procurement agreement, a market worth 1.7 trillion. And while the first 6 players on that list may eventually, after perhaps years of harder negotiations, give in with separate trade deals, with the last one, the small country of Moldova, it's unlikely. Because it's personal. This is because Theresa May, in an effort to look tough on immigration, made the inexplicable and utterly disastrous decision last year to deny visas to a Moldovan government delegation who wanted to visit the UK on a trade mission. Karina Kajakaru, a government advisor to the Moldova government, and her team were arrogantly denied entry to the UK in 2017 when they wanted to discuss their country's future relationship with Britain after it leaves the European Union. Understandably, Kajakaru was very pissed off by the way she was treated by the UK. I couldn't get a visa and a diplomatic passport to go to London to negotiate on government procurement. Nobody listened to us for 6 to 7 months. And who is the head of the Moldovan representative to the World Trade Organisation who has just decided to block the UK? Yep, Karina Kajakaru. This, of course, illustrates the massive flaw in the Brexiteers' idiotic plans to revert to World Trade Organisation rules after a no-deal Brexit, namely that under the rules of the organisation, it takes only one country anywhere in the world with a grudge to blackball a member. And under Theresa May's Tory government, the UK has been creating a lot of grudges. This, of course, should be massive news in the UK, but with a supine, spineless press in our country, with most of its billionaire owners personally pro-Brexit, it seems this unimportant news seems to have escaped the attention of most of our so-called journalists. Okay, and he's left the link there. More here from a US newspaper. So, again, thank you very much, Tom Pride. This, now, it isn't that Theresa May is very stupid, and it isn't inexplicable, okay? I'll leave you the link again. But this is, Theresa May has done this on purpose because there's only one deal that these Zionist Tories want, okay? There's only one deal, and that's with America. We're going to have American food, okay? American Monsanto contaminated food, in return for handing our NHS over to American health insurance corporations. That is the only deal that they want. So they've blocked, they've done this deliberately. They've done this deliberately. I tell you, this government hates the British workforce. They hate the British public. They hate human rights. They hate everything our grandparents fought for. They hate the lot of it. They've hated it from day one. They never wanted an NHS. They never wanted a welfare state. They didn't want anything. They just want to go back to Victorian Britain. They just want to be able to exploit the workforce, use people like batteries. Oh, you're ill. Throw them away. Workhouse. Stick them in the workhouse. That's what's coming back. Factory prisons. Make no bones about it. Make no mistake about it. We are dealing. She isn't that stupid. They've done this on purpose. As I say, it isn't going to... Forget sovereignty. Forget that word sovereignty, Brexiteers. Think more along the lines of corporate communism. Okay? It's not the state. It's not the British state like Russia or Soviet Russia controlling all the factories. No. It's the corporations, the global corporations, and we will be living by their rules. And there'll be no EU there to protect our workers' rights or our human rights or give us justice. You won't be able to complain. You won't be allowed to complain because you won't have any human rights of freedom of speech and expression. And this is more evidence. This is more evidence. This is concrete evidence. Look, they have deliberately blocked us. They've done this on purpose. They've done this on purpose. They knew that Brexit was coming, didn't they? Okay? They knew it. So why treat people who've come to visit Britain to discuss trade deals after we leave the European Union? Why treat them so badly that then they block us? Why? This is what I mean about Theresa May. She is an evil, evil woman. That's what she is. Okay? She's evil. She is a total criminal. There you go. Corporate communism run by vampires. That's literally what they are. Vampires. They will literally drain the blood out of people. They'll see families homeless. They'll see people without health care. They don't care. They don't care. They really do not care. You're talking vampires. That is what they are, literally. Vampires. Okay? And that is why people like myself are getting very, very concerned and expressing some anger and outrage. Because we have a right to be angry and outraged when people are threatening our very lives and livelihoods. You don't see anybody more angry and outraged than a set of Tories who are worried about, you know, Russian agents deploying nerve gas dust in Britain. Suspected, not even any evidence, not even on any evidence. Anger and outrage, oh yes, that's quite understandable. Okay. But we're not allowed to express any anger or outrage. Oh, we're getting out of control. We're expressing some emotions. Quick. Shut them up, shut those people up. They're obviously inferior. They're not psychopaths. That's it. You see, psychopaths don't really have any emotions. They feed on our emotions. That's what they do. They feed on them. And that's what they did, isn't it? To persuade people to vote Brexit. They fed on fears. They fueled the fires of fear and hate and distrust and division and judgment and discrimination. They fed on it all. They created it all, then they feed on it like the vampires they are. They feed on our emotions and then use us to drive us, to lead us down their roads. No sovereignty. No sovereignty. No sovereignty. Forget that word. In fact, we had more sovereignty in the EU than we are ever going to have in this Tory-led and created Brexit. And look, they've engineered it every which way they can. Oh, well, you know, we can't do a market with these people. So, you know, we're going to have to go to the US. We're going to have to start shoving Monsanto shit down the children's throats. We're going to have to hand the NHS over to America's wonderful corporate insurers. Health insurance corporations, aren't we? They're so lovely, aren't they? You know, they won't support things like long-term illnesses. They're quite happy to let people just die because they've got no money. You know, in fact, they're hard pushed even to support food stamps for people. You know. It's just too much money, you know. Don't expect us to pay tax to support the people that we can't provide work for, because we're actually a total failure at anything apart from stuffing our own faces with food and our pockets with as much money as we can grab. Because, you know, we all want our own yachts and private jets. That's who Brexit is supporting. And I'm sorry, you know, I know that the people who voted Brexit, who have since started to wake up, do feel bad, but please don't feel bad. It's not anybody's fault to have been misled, to have been lied to. That is a crime, you know, that people have suffered, to have been persuaded to make a decision that is actually against them, to their detriment, by a set of criminals. And that is why we do need to rise up and demand our right now to have another referendum to cancel, to vote to cancel Brexit. That needs to be our choice now, because that's what the EU has offered us. And this government isn't even talking about it. According to this government, and actually most of the British corporate media, all they're talking about is, well, should we have the crap deal or go for a hard Brexit? Well, nobody wants the crap deal. It's actually ludicrous. It is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. We'd be better off staying in the EU. That's the fact of it. If we're going to accept that deal, it's just crazy. It is literally like chopping your right hand off. Choosing to chop your right hand off. So it's a crazy deal. Brexit is going to be a nightmare, because they've made it a nightmare already, right from the start. So we have the choice. We need to demand another referendum, And precisely because we were lied to. And actually, no government worth its salt, run by intelligent people, would ever, ever have imposed such madness and mayhem on its own population, on its own electorate. And this is what I mean. This is why they do need to be locked up. It is criminal what they've done. They're not that stupid. They know what they are doing. They are downright evil. They're evil. And they're sadists. They've got to be. They've got to be sadists. Because only sadists could deny sick and disabled people their benefits. And put people who are ill and struggling and suffering through such hardship that they drive how many? Tens of thousands to suicide. That's murder, as far as I'm concerned. That's criminal manslaughter. When you make people's lives so miserable, they kill themselves. So you don't even have to fork out the price of a bullet. And nobody carries the burden of the accusation of murder. Well, I'm calling them out. Murderers, that's what they are. These Tories are murderers. They have murdered British people with their economic terrorism, and now they're going to do even more. They're putting our children at risk. They want to feed our children American Monsanto-laced food. Okay? That is putting our children at risk. Food that is banned in the EU. They want to give it to our children. They want to put British people's health care at risk, British people's lives, by handing over our NHS to America's corporate health insurance companies, who can't even provide adequate health care to the citizens of America, and who charge their citizens extortionate sums for medicines that in the EU are very reasonably priced. It is no wonder that they've got guns, they're getting soldiers and armed police ready to deal with the public outcry that's going to come when we get this hard Brexit. And they've asked councils to stock up on food. Now, it doesn't need to be like that, because Europe has been very reasonable. They have actually offered to keep borders open and to do all the things, but this government doesn't want it. It wants its hard Brexit, it wants its police state, it wants to stamp on the face of the British public, because that's what the Zionists controlling this country wants to do, because it hates the British people. We supported Palestinians in 2014. How many cities came out in support of Palestine? These Zionists hate us. They are the ones that are in control of this Brexit. They are the ones that are in control of this government. David Cameron, I am a Zionist. Tommy Robinson, I am a Zionist. Understand what is going on and how serious it is, and then you will understand why I'm shouting and screaming on bloody YouTube. Why? Please, 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 please stand up for your rights, people of Britain. Stand up for your rights. This is a Tory coup. I'm going to leave you some links to my videos underneath this. Please go through them, okay? I'm not going to leave you the angry shouty video I've made today, because, you know, really that is to Britain's MPs. It's to the people of power. The people on the ground. We need to get active. And no, you know, we don't need to all start going crazy. I mean, they've been showing us the French riots, okay? They've been showing us the French riots and explaining to people, you know, showing us all the violence and everything. But it isn't the violence. It isn't what's been going off in Paris that has broken the French president. okay? It isn't that. As this video explains, it is ordinary people, yes, wearing yellow vests, protesting in every single part of France, and the whole of the public supporting them. Look, this is a part of France. Can you see the yellow vests? They've stopped the traffic. Look, police officers stood there. No riot gear, nothing burning, nothing going crazy. They did this all over France. That's what's done it. Not the madness and mayhem. A lot of it, the violence instigated by agent provocateurs and even the police. No, this is it. It happened all over France. And as he explains here, it's a really good video, thank you, Seven. He explains here perfectly clearly, you know, France is a huge country. It's mostly rural populations because it is a massive country, France. It is huge. But this is what, it's the ground force, the peaceful people who, yeah, they've been getting out there and doing it. Like, for example, the people of Iceland, okay? Here you go. This is from 2013. Why did the media keep the recent peaceful Icelandic revolution quiet? This was the people of Iceland. Okay. They took the drums out, they were banging the pots and pans. They stood outside their parliament in freezing cold winter, sub-zero temperatures. The police joined them. During the financial turmoil of 2008 and 2009, the people of Iceland forced their government and banks to resign. How did they do this? Peacefully. The following is a summation of what steps they took over a process of several years, and it all began with each one of them realising this couldn't continue. 2008, the main bank of Iceland is nationalised. The krona, the currency of Iceland, devalues and the stock market halts. The country is in bankruptcy. 2008, citizens rise up at Parliament and succeed in forcing the resignation of both the Prime Minister and the effective government. New elections are held. Yet the country remains in a bad economic situation. A Parliament Act is passed to pay back the €3,500 million to Great Britain and Holland by the people of Iceland monthly during the next 15 years with 5.5% interest. The people of Iceland again take to the streets in 2010 to demand a referendum. In January 2010, the President of Iceland denies approval instead of announcing a popular vote on the matter by the people. In March, a referendum and denial of payment is approved by a popular vote of 93%. Meanwhile, government officials initiate an investigation to bring to justice those responsible for the crisis. Many high-level executives and bankers are arrested. Interpol dictates an order to force all implicated parties to leave Iceland. An assembly is elected to write a new constitution based on that of Denmark to avoid entrapments of debt-based currency, foreign loan and foreign loans. 25 citizens are chosen with no political affiliation out of the 522 candidates. The only qualifications for candidacy are adulthood and the support of 30 people. The Constitutional Assembly started in February 2011. It continues present Carta Magna from recommendations provided by various assemblies throughout the country. Ultimately, it must be approved by both the current Parliament and the one created through the next legislative election. It's quite a story, isn't it? You can most definitely see at this point why this was not covered in newspapers, on radio networks and on television. Imagine seeing this story on TV several times each day where you live in the world. Do you think the people would start to get ideas, maybe try the same thing? Most definitely. There is always a constant push of fear, murders, anger, government success, health fallacies and false information. But never do we hear of stories that could be a threat to the system. Another key factor of this revolution that we have to look at is that it did not come from a place of violence, bloodshed or anger. no guns or fighting. It was simply people getting together peacefully and working things out. This is something this entire world is capable of, but believes is impossible. Humanity has been so programmed to give itself little credit in this department. We always hear about how we need to be governed. There are too many crazy people out there. We need a big brother keeping control. The truth is, within the confines and certain rules the system employs, we would be much more peaceful people, mainly because we are no longer acting in survival mode. Now, I'm not here to say that the system is the only issue, because it isn't. Our programme is also very strong in what we have been taught and believe about ourselves. I am simply here to say this programming can be broken, and our consciousness can and is changing. Now, it says there was no anger, but actually, yes, there was a lot of anger in the Icelandic people being expected, that they're expected to repay the debt of a set of criminals and their children forever and ever and ever, basically, because, you know, you're talking an unrepayable debt that's gathering interest every year. So they were angry, but they got together and they sorted it out peacefully, and that's what we need to do in Britain. There's a lot of us feel angry because we didn't have any revolution. We have been forced to pay the price. We've had to witness our friends and relatives dying of illnesses and suicide, suffering extreme poverty, becoming homeless, losing their jobs. Right? We've had to go through what these people said, no, sorry, we're not having that. And they stood by each other. Instead, people like myself are totally ignored, isolated, judged mad, because we're saying, let's get out there, let's do an Iceland, let's do it. Okay? That is what we need to do. Everybody, we need to come out, bang our pots and pans. No. We don't want this. We don't want this hard Brexit. We don't want Theresa May's deal. We'll cancel Brexit and we'll think again. And if we do really want to leave the EU that much, well, maybe we need a bit more time to get ourselves sorted out and to make the right connections in the external world before we start voting Brexit, when actually we're offending the people that we will need to trade with when we leave the EU. You see? Little things like that. When we have a government that isn't dependent on being in the EU in order to uphold our human rights and workers' rights and environmental protection laws. You know, when we're not being ruled by a government that immediately on leaving the EU, apparently it means they can scrap all of those things. I mean, I tell you now, these people might have been peaceful, saying, no, we're not paying all this cash back. But I would not like to have seen them if their same government was saying, not only have you got to pay all this cash back, we're going to scrap your human rights. I tell you, what's been going off in France would look like a picnic in the park. But that's what they're doing to us. So yeah, I have expressed some emotion and I am angry, but it's not an anger born of hatred. It's actually an anger born of pain. It's pain. It's painful. It's painful to contemplate and to realise the levels of crime that the Tories have been committing and getting away with. It is painful. And to know the depths of poverty that I had to survive through childhood. You know, I grew up, I had no human rights in my family home. I was an abused, neglected, traumatised, terrorised and actually overworked child. Okay? I know what it's like to live under total domination of a crazy, evil, actually evil ruler who was in the form of my insane father. But that is now Britain. That is going to be my country. So obviously I am alarmed. I am very concerned because I know what it's like. And I know that most British people haven't even got a clue. They've not got a clue what it's like. Because they've taken for granted their rights. For me, it was a pleasure when I grew up and became, oh yeah, I can make my own decisions. I can speak, you know. I can express myself. No, it's all going to be taken away off us again, off me again. But I've survived it once. I'm a survivor. But will people survive it in Britain? Will they drive people to the level of rioting so they can have their police state? Very probably. When they've took our human rights away, we won't even have a right to do in Iceland. They'll be able to just come and shoot us. Who's going to be there to hear us scream? Not the EU. Who's going to come and help Britain? Is America going to come in to help us have our revolution like they've been doing in Syria for ISIS? No. America's supporting this. America's supporting this. So it is, you know, it is very, very serious. And this is more evidence supporting exactly what I've been saying about this government and this evil wolf bitch. Because that's what she is. She's from the Roman gender constructs, wolf civilization based on the power structure of a wolf pack. Okay, that's her. She's a wolf bitch, right? That is exactly what she is. You know, Tony Blair, he's a wolf in sheepskin, isn't he? You see, pretending to be Labour, but actually, no, a wolf in a sheepskin. She don't wear no sheepskin. She is top wolf bitch, right? So please understand what is going on. Get active. These are not the times for, oh, I can't do anything. Because I tell you now, you will wish you had used your rights when you had them. Because when you've not got your rights, then you'll know what it's like to have your hands tied behind your back and your mouth permanently gagged, living in fear.